You're listening to Donald Trump Fulfills a Dream Role, Big City Mayor, a news story written by Paul Schwartzman and read by an AI-generated voice. Donald J. Trump's many incarnations have included real estate magnate, casino owner, television host, and president. Now he's trying on a new role, one he seems to have thirsted for over the years. Big City Mayor. After first imposing his stamp on D.C.'s police department and sending the National Guard into Washington, Trump this week waded into the most parochial of municipal chores, vowing to clean up city parks, improve lighting along roadways, and attack the population of rats that for years have bedeviled residents. "We're getting rid of them too," he said of the vermin. Trump also chided the city's top leader, Mayor Muriel E. Bowser, Democrat Hom, saying she had better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long, because we'll take it over with the federal government and run it like it's supposed to be run. A mayoral spokesperson declined to comment. For anyone well-versed in Trump's past, his preoccupation with local affairs and sidewalk-level aesthetics is nothing new, dating back to his many decades as a developer in New York, where he was known to make a show of inserting himself into the hurly-burly of city life. Although he never ran for mayor, Trump at times sounded like he wanted to run City Hall, including when he took over the renovation of Central Park's Woolman Rink in 1986 after deriding the administration of then-mayor Edward L. Koch for taking too long to complete the project. Several years later, after a female investment banker was raped while jogging in Central Park, Trump bought full-page advertisements in New York City's newspapers, demanding the reinstatement of the death penalty for those responsible. The accused, 5 young Black and Latino men, were later exonerated. "Most people in development or finance don't say anything publicly about conditions in the city," said Hank Scheinkopf, a longtime Democratic consultant based in New York. But Trump always tried to portray himself as a concerned citizen of the city. Now he's living in D.C., and he's doing the same thing, except now he has the power to put law enforcement on the street to do his bidding. Trump's theatrics in New York guaranteed his place as regular fodder for headlines because he was entertaining, Scheinkopf said. Some of the stuff made him look overbearing, and there were times no one could figure out why he was concerned. Beyond the showmanship, though, Trump's associates say his preoccupation with aesthetics seemed authentic, recalling that he could become agitated by the most prosaic of urban blemishes, a pothole, for example, outside Trump Tower. "He would have me or someone else make a call to the city to get the pothole repaired," said Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, who turned against him in one of his many legal cases. Donald was involved in every aspect of the company, every nuance, every decision. He had the relationships with senior officials in the mayor's office, the attorney general's office, and he was never shy about using them. All these years later, as he sits in the Oval Office, Trump's brash, freewheeling style sometimes seems reminiscent of New York mayors past and present, many of whom have been known to make themselves available to reporters multiple times a day. Trump's persona-driven showmanship is not unlike that of Koch or former Mayor Rudy Giuliani when they presided at City Hall. What's distinct is that the president is comporting himself that way at the White House, the nation's most revered stage. At one point Friday, the president wore a red baseball cap bearing the message, "Trump was right about everything." His actions have drawn legal challenges, including from the D.C. Attorney General's office, which persuaded a federal judge to limit the administration's attempt to take command of the city's police department, even while allowing Trump to order officers to help with the enforcement of immigration laws. It was more than a week ago when Trump assumed the focus and posture of a local leader, describing D.C. as overrun with crime, despite statistics showing a stark reduction in polling, indicating that residents' level of concern about their safety has declined. On Thursday, he suggested he would walk a patrol beat in southeast Washington with uniformed officers, an idea he later backed off from. Instead, he traveled to a U.S. Park police facility in southeast to address a contingent of law enforcement personnel and National Guard troops. On Friday, he visited the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts on the banks of the Potomac River, and later floated the idea of renaming the building the Trump Kennedy Center. It was also on Friday that he vowed to spend $2 billion cleaning up the city, describing it as a rat hole. At one point, he sounded like a construction manager as he took a moment to delve into the mechanics of improving the city's light poles, saying they're rusting and they've got different lenses on top. Then, in the next moment, he talked about fixing up the city's roadways, promising that the streets would be re-topped, not ripped up and rebuilt. "We're going to take off the asphalt and put beautiful, well-done asphalt," he said. "You know, if you have a good asphalt worker, it's the greatest thing you can have. But there aren't too many of them. But I know all the good contractors." Trump's constant criticism and the arrival of immigration enforcement agents and the National Guard on D.C. streets has roiled local officials and residents, who contend that he is distorting the city's challenges to appeal to his broader base. "We're under siege," DC Council Chair Phil Mendelson, Democrat, said. "The city, by all accounts, is beautiful and safe. This narrative has been made up that we're crime-ridden." Trump's ardor for local concerns is well known to New Yorkers, who recall his tenure as the city's most vocal real estate magnate. George Arst, the New York Post's City Hall bureau chief in the 1980s, and later Koch's press secretary, said Trump would call all the time to complain about the Koch administration's lack of progress on the Woolman rink renovation. Trump could see the rink from his office in Trump Tower. Koch, who called Trump a blowhard in his memoir, eventually ceded the project to him. "I always had the feeling it was, hey, look at me, I can do it," Arst said of Trump. And then the mayor decided, I will just give everything to him and let him do it. It's the same thing in Washington. He just goes around and says, I can do it, I'm here. It's a power grab in some ways. It's power and attention. Michael Caputo, a former Trump political advisor who tried to persuade him to run for governor in New York in 2013, said the president's preoccupation with DC's appearance is consistent with what his focus was when he was a developer. He was concerned about the way the look of New York impacted his investments, his buildings, and his tenants. He was always focused on that, Caputo said. He was on the phone with the police and the infrastructure of city government. It wasn't just staffers doing it. He was doing it. Caputo said he suspects one factor driving Trump in D.C. is a desire to ensure that the city is ready to host next year's commemoration of the country's 250th anniversary. We will increase tourism because of the news coverage of what he's doing in D.C., Caputo said. People who would like to come are watching, and they're more likely to visit during the celebration. This is about America 250. Trump's encroachment on D.C. life has provoked protests across the city, as immigration enforcement agents and other federal authorities and local police have established checkpoints and taken into custody people suspected of being undocumented immigrants. At the same time, the president's tactics also have drawn support from residents such as Sandra S.S. Seegers, who has long advocated for more police in her community in Southeast. In Ward 8, where Seegers lives, the presiding council member, Trayan White Sr., Democrat doll, has called for the National Guard in the past to deal with the area's crime problem. If he gets rid of the garbage, the rats, and the criminals, I'm for it, Seegers said. If it improves conditions in my neighborhood, I'm glad. The mayor and the council aren't doing it. Councilmember Charles Allen, D. Ward 6, said many of the aesthetic issues preoccupying the president are on parkland and public spaces controlled by the federal government. Go through downtown and see how many fountains don't work. Those are federal parks, Allen said. We've all seen what he does. This is about who can pound their chest the hardest and claim success, whether it's true or not. This is just a really big show.